Good morning. It's Medicare for All Monday. I think this is our fourth week, I believe. We're getting the ball rolling here. I have today Mary Closson with us, and we have Jen Nye. We have a Mary representing Oregon. Jen is representing Washington. Brian Cheeseman can't make it today, but he's got things other going on in his life, and that's how that happens. We have lives, so no big deal. We're going to roll on. He'll be with us next week, everyone. Mary, how's it going?
It's going great for early morning.
Yes, thank you for coming on. I've been waiting to have you on. Looking forward to this. I know we talked a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and so what's going on with Oregon and Medicare for All?
Well, there's a ton going on. We just had a very successful lobby day on April 1st. No fooling, healthcare for all at the state capitol in Salem. Very well attended by all of our activists and advocates, and the state senators Manning and Denbrough were there, boosting us along. So that was successful. We have Senate Bill 770A, which calls for a committee to be formed, a special committee to be formed to review how to implement a healthcare for all law. So we have various committees at Healthcare for All Oregon, whether it's legislative, outreach, membership, et cetera. And I happen to chair the communications committee, and we're all working in tandem to get this law passed.
Okay, great. Now, 770A, that happened a few weeks ago, and that passed, correct?
Yes. I don't have all the specifics with me right now because little details keep changing, but yes, it's in committee.
It's in committee. So that means this whole summer we can work on that. I'm not super familiar with this stuff. I know
Right.
that Lori was telling me about it about 2 weekends ago. And then I called her personally and said, hey, did it pass? She said, yes, it did. And then I know that means we do the ways and means of committee. Can you explain that? I don't understand it.
Yeah. I'm really not prepared to go into all the details on that. You might not have seen my text about that because of some details that have changed. So yeah, sorry about that.
No worries, no worries, no worries. So we'll touch on that when we get the details in. How's that?
Yeah, but it is moving along in a very promising way, definitely.
Nice, nice. So then what are our next steps? What are we doing now?
We're just doing more advocacy, raising money. We have a big membership meeting coming up on June 8th in Eugene. And, to elect new board members from around the state, add to our existing board, and, talk about the main initiatives that are on the schedule, kind of our main principles that we're working with as an organization.
Excellent. Now, when, and how could somebody go if they were wanting to show up to that event?
I would suggest they go to our website, which is hcao.org. And on the home page down below, as you scroll, there's a box that says events, and it actually highlights the upcoming membership meeting on June 8th in Eugene, the address, etc. Members, we encourage members to go, but non-members can attend. Business people that are interested. Chapters only can vote, though. That's the difference. But and so those are kind of the focus areas right now.
Okay. And now I'm going to jump right over here to Jen, because one of the things we do here is we're going back and forth because we're trying to, in this Medicare for All money, one of the goals is to bring together the states on the push for Medicare for All, so we can use each other's ideas, reflect off each other. So Jen, how's it going?
Oh, it's good. It's really great to hear those partnerships that you're building, Mary.
Oh,
we need that. We need more coalitions.
Excellent. Now, thank you very much for coming on, Jen. Can you tell us a couple things that's going on with the push for Medicare for All in Washington State?
Sure. So I'm with Whole Washington, and our organization is kind of the strength behind the initiative process. So we support all efforts for Medicare for All, whether it be at the national level, regional level, or state ground game ready to use the initiative process. And we look at it like a gift. If you have to go through the legislation, you're kind of at the mercy of bought elected officials. And this way we can listen to the people and kind of circumvent them. So we're trying to lay our ground game right now. What we learned from our last attempt is that it does take vast amounts of cash. It's unfortunate, but that is the case, and so that's what we're doing right now. The most recent development was we did go to the Medicare for All hearing in Washington, D.C. Myself and the campaign director, and it was incredibly moving to be there. It really does feel like historic progress.
Wow, that is tremendous. Now, I watched a lot of that. It was long. I didn't watch it all, I'll be honest. But I watched a lot of it, and some of it was very inspirational. I think we're going to move forward with that. I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty.
It was long. Yeah, I am so sorry, you guys. This is my internet connection.
Okay, no worries. I hear you loud and clear now. It just jumps a couple times, and I thought I lost.
Right.
No worries at all. Okay, so both of you guys are saying we need to raise money, and that makes perfect sense to me. It's time to start raising money. So we're going to have to put in some form of initiatives to get the people out there to start donating, to move our cause forward on both ends. What are the plans going forward to try to do this? Mary, do you guys have any plans to try to raise some funds?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we just had a successful blues festival, Fest, Inner City Blues Fest in Portland last Saturday night. And it featured Norman Sylvester, Curtis Salgado. These are all great blues musicians here in the region. And it was all to benefit Healthcare for All Oregon, because many people don't realize that musicians are especially affected by not having access to healthcare, affordable healthcare. So we had probably 350 to 400 people, and sold tickets, had a silent auction, and really cannot thank Norman Sylvester and his team enough for putting the whole event on. And it looks like this is a very preliminary figure, but I think we can safely say we raised about $30,000.
Woo-hoo!
Hey,
right.
I know.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. The final numbers aren't in. We're still doing the accounting, but very excited about that. And then we have a house party coming up in June, I believe. I don't have the date right in front of me, but it's a house party hosted by one of our board members, featuring an author, and where people will, solicit donations that way. So for anybody listening, if you're interested in hosting some kind of a small event in your home, be sure to contact me or Tom Sinsick, our president, or Michael Sorensen, our executive director, and we'd be happy to work with you on that.
Excellent. All right. So I'll repeat that again for everybody. Host an event in your area in Oregon. I will list the contacts for all three of those people on this live stream after it's done. So just check if it's not live streamed. I'll get that up there. That is a great idea. We could do that you could do that out of your own house. You could rent out the library. You could do it at a local bar or something if you want to do some open mic, whatever it takes.
Very grassroots. We can provide you with any materials and kind of some guidelines for things you'll want to say for talking points, things like that. We're your resource for that. So please use us. Please contact us.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Jen. How's it going? So what's the next steps here for you guys doing raising money? You guys just got back from Washington. What's going on now?
So we're definitely in the fundraising portion. And the thing about it is you need to have money to even make more money.
Right.
And so we're doing something kind of similar to what Mary's talking about, where we want to have concerts. We want to have maybe even events at a roller skating rink or a walkathon. But we actually need to we need to pay for a fundraising coordinator,
Right.
someone who can actually dedicate their time to doing this.
Right.
And then once we have that established, then we can go after even bigger donors, which is truly what's required of an initiative process. I personally feel like we won't have any problem with a volunteer effort to get the required signatures to get it on the ballot. But where the war chest comes in is the get out the vote prior to the actual election. And that's when the insurance companies will come after us. That's where we'll be fighting a lot of big money. And that's where we'll need like coordinated messaging and advertising. Right. And so that's, so it's kind of a phased approach. Mary's absolutely right, where anybody that's in the arts struggles with having insurance. And so yes. These, band musicians, they're always having GoFundMe's to pay for a band member who's struggling.
Yeah, terrible.
I have so many artist friends. They're at the mercy of the exchange.
Right.
And it's really terrifying for them. And so I feel like that's also kind of our in to the younger generation to get some skin in the game. I think a lot of people that are involved in the movement right now are older, and we need more youth. We need students.
Yes,
and I feel like a lot of these concerts could be a way into that, to tap into that.
Very true. I just thought, have either one of you guys ever thought about gear, getting hats and T-shirts? I support Medicare for all. Here's buy a hat and a T-shirt. $10 goes towards Medicare for all.
Yeah,
that's a good way to raise the money. And like, if you guys ever did that, I would have no problem. I would love to go down to the college and try to sell them to all the college kids.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Advertising and fundraising.
Right. No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like just some logistic problems like shipping, and that kind of stuff. But I agree with you. We need the visibility. It starts conversations.
Right. It does. And with the gear necessarily, you would definitely, I don't know, there's a lot of different ways you could go about it. You could go about it getting really good gear, or just like, hey, look, it's a donation. The hat is, it's a $10 hat. You're donating $30, but it's the cause. And then you're going to wear the thing. And then it covers the costs of shipping. And yes, you're right. That's something we have to consider, because we'd have to order a quantity amount in order to make it effective, probably.
Right.
I was just looking for my Healthcare for All Oregon button. Do you have buttons, Jen?
We do.
Okay. Yeah, so we have buttons and shirts primarily, and we're looking into other things as well.
I should be wearing my button too, actually.
I know, right?
I know. I've got it here somewhere. I always have one with me. But yeah, we'd be happy to get people buttons, things.
Yes, buttons are great. I wish I had a button maker.
Oh, yeah. Those are great to have. And we even have been giving out pins that are stickers for people that don't like pins. So, we try to adapt, and very good. There she is.
Nice.
I'm looking for mine.
There's some left over from our last initiative campaign, our pride buttons. Yeah, they're needed.
Nice. So you guys, if you want a button right now, I'm sure you guys can donate some money to either one of these things. Like I said, down below, we are going to do links to everything. So we'll have links to Washington, links to Oregon. You can donate to both. You're allowed to do that. So feel free. So what is the first things we're going to do with some of this money that comes in? And what are some of these obstacles coming ahead? I'll start with you, Jen. Coming ahead that are going to be some challenges that we're going to have to hurdle over or face or get around in this whole summer, let's say.
I think a lot of it is still this age-old messaging that we have to fight.
Okay.
And it was really, it was apparent in full force. I started reading this book on the plane. Have any of you read Deadly Spin by Wendell Potter?
No. Nope. Never even heard of it.
I'm going to write it down.
Yes. So he's an insider. He worked as a PR guy for the insurance company. So to see this kind of propaganda play out, it's the same old messages that have been used for decades now to prevent our movement from advancing. I think we all just need to be really aware of it when we see it, and we need to have clear responses to address it. So, and something that I've been thinking about recently too is I feel like we're on the hot seat to prove that we can pay for a universal healthcare system, that we're on the hot seat to prove that it will be better when our current system is failing us. It's criminal. And I feel like we kind of just need to turn the tables, and the spotlight really does need to be on the insurance companies. We need to call them out. This is financial hardship. It's stress. It's death.
Yes,
and so, how do they answer for our current system? And so I think if we could somehow coordinate our efforts to be more on the offense instead of like being on the defense and having to prove that universal healthcare will work. Things like
we're always saying, how can we pay for it? So our answers are always, how can we pay for it? That is an example, because one of the things I think about that is, instead of the defense is how can we pay for it, then we got to come up with that answer. The offense is, it's going to save us money.
Right.
So if we were telling them what, coming at them in another, I see what you're saying. Now with this Deadly Spin book, can you give me any examples by any chance off the top of your head of about what they do or what you learned in that book?
Sure. Yeah. So one thing that he talked about is they kind of have this two-prong approach where they'll have a face of the insurance industry that's very polished and will admit that there are problems and be open to reform. And then there'll be this second level of, and it's normally paid politicians who will then start inserting the negatives of the universal health care movement. Higher tax terms, the one size fits all term, and so they'll just kind of start chipping away from this other side. So it's really it's important to be able to see these arguments from a mile away and be able to realize that they are ridiculous.
Right. So they're coming out they got this strategy. They got two layers, and they're putting the first people out to say, regardless if it's politician, spokesperson, even maybe it's the reporter, who knows, but they're saying, hey, it's a good idea. And then they have another tier of system say, hey, it's a good idea, but here's the bad things to it. And then the third people can come in and say those bad things all over again to clarify it all. I actually have noticed that is the way it comes whenever, and it seems like, from my point of view, watching the newspapers and the news and everything on the internet, that it could go both ways. This could be planned, or it's just maybe everyone picks up on, for instance, one person says, how can we pay for it? And the next thing you know, all the newscasters are saying that, and you notice keywords in the news as it is, not even talking Medicare for all. There's always one newscaster says something like, for instance, unpresidential. That was huge for a while with, this is unpresidential. This is another unpresidential moment. Everyone wanted to say that. So I think that they do the same thing with Medicare for all, is what you're saying. correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And this idea of how do we pay for it? I mean, come on. The money is there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
always been there. It's political will.
Yeah.
And you know, if America is not its people, what is it? I mean, what are we, you know? I think that the chairman McGovern, who ran the hearing in the Rules Committee, he had a new way of introducing it that I think could possibly really resonate, and that he's looking at like maybe a broader term of national security. You know, national security doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it means military or defense or the war machine. It means that national security, it means that our from disease.
Yeah, well,
So it's just it's a broader way to look at something that has always traditionally meant a very expensive war machine.
right, right. But when we say things like defense, hey, you know, making sure that everybody's healthy in America is defense. It's the definition of defense. It's preventive.
Right, a healthy
Is
workforce.
defense.
You know,
It's, yes, exactly. A healthy workforce, very important. Healthy schools, very
healthy
important.
schools.
Yes, all of that is very important. I'm 100% agreeing with you. So the defense is a very good, and you could even argue that we're in a crisis right now. We could say
Exactly.
disaster. This is a national disaster. I mean, we couldn't just say it. It is a national disaster.
Agreed.
With the opioid epidemic, that alone is a national disaster. We've already pretty much agreed with that. So the way to fix that is the medical system. Oz, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in real quick and just reinforce everything that you guys are talking about. I submit to you, all three of you, that unless a candidate, particularly the 22 candidates that are running on the Democratic ticket, do not get behind Medicare for all, nationally improved Medicare for all, that they are going to give up a huge chunk of the possibility of what the centrists are calling, we need to beat Trump. It doesn't matter about the issues. Well, the issues do matter, because Medicare for all is going to be the only, or one of the biggest tools, I should say, to get out the vote, to accomplish the goals of all of us. Now, since 80% of the entire country across party lines is for a Medicare for all system, you would think these candidates would get it. But the insurance lobby, the medical insurance lobby, which is nothing, it's not healthcare, it's profiteering off of the health and well-being of our country, which to me is treason. They have, in some respects, the good news, they've accepted that some point in time, Medicare for all is going to be a reality for this country. It's inevitable, because we're not going to take this much longer. It's the timing of the thing. So the best thing to unify the country and to unify the Democratic Party as far as getting their candidate in, if that's the case, is to unify behind Medicare for all. Let's cut the crap. We're already paying trillions of dollars for our broken healthcare system. That's been proven. So there's this bull crap about how are we going to pay for it. Well, they just gave another $160 billion to the military industrial complex over a 2-year period. That just came. It was a bipartisan vote. That's what bipartisanship gets you. I want to see bipartisanship across the plane of nationally improved Medicare for all. That shows true leadership in this country. And until we have that, we don't have true leaders. And I will also submit we've got a couple of candidates out there that are behind Medicare for all. Sure, they're not going to be able to snap their fingers, but they're not going to kick it down the road so it can be picked at by the opposition over the next 5 or 10 years. They are vociferously going to use that public pulpit. They are going to get people educated on why and how we are already paying for a system that should already be in place. That's my rocket-powered soapbox for Monday. I just had to jump in there and support all of you on that.
Right, right. Thank you, Oz. And you know what? I'm 100% agreeing with the issues thing. Like when we're going to, I try to keep the presidents out of this because the thing is about that is there are other people that back other presidents. But on your point, I agree with you, Oz. If they're not backing Medicare for all, we shouldn't be backing them. And then at the same time, I don't want to chase anybody away that's Medicare for all, even if they're backing whoever they're backing. Even if they're backing somebody that's not like Beto, who's not backing Medicare for all. If they're backing Medicare for all, I want them to stay with us. So in my idea, the best way to do is, like you said, policies. If we go out and start knocking doors and say, do you want Medicare for all? Do you want living wage? Do you want tuition-free college? And they say, yes, yes, yes. Well, then it's pretty much go vote for Bernie too, because he's the only one doing it. However, if there's any other buddy that wants to step up and do it, awesome. Let them step up and do it. Then we'll say, go vote for the policies. That's why we want to focus on the policies and not as much as the president of the United States, because Medicare for all that is, because the division inside the party can cause problems for Medicare for all is basically what it is. I notice that a lot. So I try to keep the separation between the two. And at the same time, we have to remember that we want to only vote for whichever president's backing Medicare for all. And that includes the full Medicare for all. And that means abolishing private insurance companies. And that brings me to what Cory Booker just came out 2 days ago on Jake Tapper CNN. And he said, big long thing about Medicare for all, but in the first sentence, he said, he stands by backing Medicare for all. So I don't know what standing by backing Medicare for all means, but it doesn't mean you back it.
That's rhetoric. That's all it is rhetoric. That's why I want to quickly, real quick, and then we'll let the ladies add into this. Right now, you have candidates who say they don't have time to present their Medicare plan or their health care plan. We have candidates with incomplete websites, and I'll finish off by saying, if you don't have a full website in this day and age, with your positions on the issues, with your voting record, with your financial disclosure, and your bio, those basics, you're not prepared to run for the highest office in the land. I mean, that's ridiculous to me. And if you want to look around at some of the candidates that are not prepared to run for office, they don't have those crucial things on their website. And that tells me they've got their finger in the wind, waiting to see where the wind blows as far as the issues goes. And when it gets closer to crunch time, maybe after the debates, they'll firm up a platform. To me, that's divisive, and that is unpresidential, and that is unacceptable in this day and age. And back to you guys, see what you think.
Yeah. Mary, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I definitely have a lot to say about it, but as a member, I just want to stipulate,
Right.
Care for All Oregon is nonpartisan.
Yes.
I can just hear our president saying, Tom Sinsick saying, Mary, nonpartisan.
Right. I know that.
Okay,
very much
so I will say that. However, I personally, oh yes, and many of us, obviously the majority of us involved in Healthcare for All Oregon are very much progressive mindset,
right.
Very much respect Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and their
right.
willingness to definitely be out there bold and strong and in support of this, and not being followers, but being true leaders in this. And it's refreshing and it's needed. And Oz, I couldn't agree with you more on a personal basis. And it's a value. I want to thank Bernie in the 2016 election because he brought it out. He made it an issue and he educated the population in such an articulate way that, it is possible. We've been brainwashed in this country to think that we can't have the health care that all these other industrialized nations have. And, it took a while for other people to realize it, but those of us on the front lines are going, yes, yes, yes. But it has, as much as it's difficult to be in this time where you're seeing friends and family members suffer with their health care challenges, at least we're seeing I'd like, Jen, your opinion and Oz, but that tipping point is getting closer and closer. And that is what drives me each and every day. I want to see that tip just happen. Jen, go ahead.
I'm so with you. I feel like something that we need to do is simply up our urgency. I think Adi Barkin said it best. He says, we needed Medicare for all yesterday. And so any candidates that allow like a stepped incremental approach, to me, that is a delay tactic. And people are suffering, and we cannot accept that as equivalent support. It's not. The insurance companies should have absolutely no place at the table, and we need to support each other's efforts, whether it's at a state level, regional, or national. But we also have to adhere to principles. And that incremental steps are not the way. We needed it yesterday.
Big strides, definitely. Now you said something about insurance, and I touch on this every episode since we've started this. We've been in this is like number 4 or something, but I always want everyone to have a chance to explain to the audience and people watching that number two questions is how are we going to pay for it, which is pretty much a nil question. And then number 1 is people don't understand the private insurance thing. So I'm going to give you guys both a chance to explain about how we have to, or is there a possibility we can keep, in your opinion, can we keep our private insurance, or do we have to get rid of it? Or we'll start with you, Jen. What's the deal with private insurance and Medicare for all, in your opinion?
Oh, I believe there should absolutely be no element of profit at all. Yes, there may be supplemental insurance, as Bernie has spoken of,
right?
For voluntary procedures, but for anything that is absolutely required for our care, for our health, no, absolutely not.
Okay, and can you, by any chance, you think you could try to sum up briefly to explain why we don't want that?
Oh, well, because it leaves people out. I mean, the way that insurance companies make their profit is through denying care and creating networks and increasing drug prices. So, and we need everyone in the same pool. That's where the savings comes from, is by everyone being in the same pool.
Right. Mary, what do you have to say about the private health insurance companies?
Well, I can't remember who I was listening to. I don't know if I'm like the rest of you. I read so much and watch so many documentaries, I can't keep them all straight.
I hear that.
Someone very knowledgeable was saying that his vision of it is that we will get down to maybe 2 insurance carriers. And this could be just maybe in Oregon. Maybe I'll just keep my discussion to Oregon because there just won't be the profit incentive there for those other companies any longer. And those 2 to 3 remaining companies, let's say, will specialize, if it's allowed, in the supplemental market.
Right.
And I personally think I'm hearing, and I don't know about the rest of you, but, a lot of the fear mongering is about, I don't want, among the sector that can afford their health care, that have always enjoyed it through employers or through having their own successful large companies, whatever, is I don't want my rights taken away to all the benefits that I can afford. So to that I say, well, I would like to be able to say, and I hope that we offer some kind of supplemental for those that want to buy that, that right. Definitely, if you want to pay for certain procedures that aren't part of the universal plan, we're not going to take that away from you, because I see that as something that's a dividing point in some of the arguments I've read.
Yeah, and you know what? That was something that I had considered too, because when I first got on board, there was a lot of things. When I first heard about no private insurance, I was totally like, "No way! That freaks me out." But then the more I learned, obviously, I know it's the only way. But I do got to say with that is being you said the private insurance. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I didn't want to take it away, but now I've learned that it's the only way to do it because you're saying like if somebody wants to. Okay, sorry, I got to reframe myself here. So if somebody wants to go to some kind of like, for instance, chiropractic or something even more unknown, let's say a new medicine comes out, like a new kind of medicine that's horticulture-ish or some. I mean, not horticulture-ish. What is it called? Like
Homeopathic.
homeopathic. Thank you, Oz. Something in that frame. And then that was one of the things that worried me because I'm not a huge fan of Western medicine. Okay. I understand that America's rocking it in some ways. We've got some technology that's kicking butt. I also think we've lost a lot of China and stuff that is thousands of years old of practicing medicine that's very important. But the more I looked into it, there aren't any insurance companies that cover that right now very much. And if they want to keep those open, okay, go ahead. Who's up?
Well, I want to say something. I'm not clear on what Washington offers, but I used to work for the State Naturopathic Association here in Oregon.
Okay.
So I'm pretty familiar, and we're very fortunate here in Oregon and Washington in that we have medical schools, Bastyr up in Washington, and the National University of Natural Medicine here.
No.
Oregon alone has, I think Washington may have, the last I read, 850 to 900 licensed naturopaths. Oregon has around 800 to 850 practicing here. And I will say it is consumer driven because I'm with Providence. We've had other health plans, MODA. A lot of them do offer naturopathic doctors on their, on their provider list. I have a naturopath and my annual visit gets covered, all that kind of thing. So, and that's been the case for me for probably the last, 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
So
that is super good news to hear. That makes me excited. I'm all into that stuff.
Yeah, I absolutely.
I think Bernie said, I read, and I haven't posted on Facebook, I'd have to dig it out, but they said they'll cover, they're planning on covering stuff, a lot of stuff like that. If it's naturopathic in the form of like something that's more well known and stuff like that, I think if your insurance companies are covering, like you say, I don't quote me, but I believe that will be covered on the Medicare for All. He said Reiki. That's what when they were talking, they said like example, Reiki and other things that may be covered. And that's actually, I read it in a right-wing propaganda thing that was trying to be anti-Medicare. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome.
Well, people are realizing more and more, becoming educated, especially, I know the states that are licensed, the National Association for Naturopathic Medicine. I don't want to get too off track here, but more and more states are getting licensed. I think the last time I heard we're at about 28 or 29 states are, licensed with the state to practice. That means there's a licensing board overseeing the physicians.
There you go.
And that is vital because I'm not knocking any of the herbalists or anybody out there,
right.
But if they're calling themselves naturopathic doctors, but they're not graduates of the schools,
exactly,
that can cause miscommunication and issues. So I'll just leave it at that. But we are making progress in people's awareness of naturopathic medicine as well as chiropractors, et cetera.
Wonderful. Jen?
Yeah, those types of services are included in the whole Washington bill also. And I think we can leave some flexibility for expanded coverage because another thing that the bill does is it has a group that represents citizens. Like, are we paying for the services that we want? And when we're such a huge player in the system, we get to make those decisions. We get to say, we want chiropractics covered. So it's our money going in, And so we have a voice in what we want covered, as
Wow.
opposed to the insurance companies making those decisions for us.
Wow, that really relieves me a lot, especially even the open door thing. That's the other thing I was always wondering. Like, when they pass this, is it going to be locked down? And then we all of a sudden be like, oh no, we made a huge mistake. No, this is not going to be like that. It's going to be open.
No, there will be boards that represent the citizens. There'll be boards that represent doctors. There's also a committee that represents the financial, just to make sure that we have enough money in the coffers to cover everything and can make adjustments as necessary. So it's constantly being reviewed and perfected and tweaked so that everybody is getting the best possible service.
So you're basically dispelling this myth that they're trying to propagate about all the people who are now working in the insurance aspect of medical insurance, that they're going to be out of work. That's not true. It's going to be transitioned into the Medicare for All system for the most part. And actually, I believe it's going to afford those very same people more expanded education that they can add to their resumes to make them more, inviting to other aspects of possibly health care or health management. I think you make the case in just what you said. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think also that there's another piece in the bill. I think a lot of people, when they hear the idea that the for-profit industry would be going away, there's concern for the workers, which, my heart's right there.
Yep.
Who wants to put a bunch of people out of work? And there is like money set aside in this bill for retraining. Like, so these people could actually, find jobs that are more meaningful for them, other than just being bean counters or perpetuating this bureaucracy that denies people health care. So
yeah,
we are thinking about those workers.
Right. And then my thing with that is, how many people right now in America, does anybody know a number around do not have health insurance right now? Do we have a number for that?
Well, in Washington, it's 522,000.
Okay, so in Washington, we have 500.
More that are underinsured.
30 million people nationally. 30 million.
30 million nationally, 500,000 in Washington. So if all those people suddenly get insurance, doesn't that make for more jobs?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was like, that seems like that we need more jobs. We're going to have more jobs. Yeah,
we'll need more doctors. And that kind of speaks to the fact that we need to help doctors with their schooling. It's so expensive. We need to encourage them. We're going to need more providers, more actual.
And that's where
providers.
Tuition-free college comes in.
Exactly.
You can get they're all entangled. Green New Deal, Medicare for All, tuition-free college. They're all together. It's a package deal. It's a bundle. That's the corporates can understand that. To all you corporatists out there, we want our bundle.
On the point of free tuition or paid tuition for medical doctors, et cetera, I don't know if anybody has access to the internet. They can look this up, but T.R. Reid's book, are you familiar with it?
I don't know that either.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it right offhand. I've got it upstairs in my office. But he just came and spoke at a major health forum in Portland, and we were very well represented there, as were the medical schools and nursing schools. And he talked about how doctors in countries like Germany and Japan are, because that's the whole premise of his book, is what's going on around the world in industrialized nations with healthcare. They were asking him when he lived in England, they said, well, why do your doctors charge so much and get paid? Gosh, I hear they're making $200,000 a year. And he said, well, because they have to pay for their medical. One reason, they have to pay for their college tuition debt of, $300,000. And these doctors just shake their head and say, well, I didn't have to pay for my I don't know if a lot of Americans realize that. These countries, I'm sure you guys all knew that, but our system is so skewed here.
No, that makes sense. And is that book called The Healing of America?
Yes.
Global Quest? Yeah. Global
Yeah.
Quest for Better something I got here.
Yeah, he goes around and lectures. I don't know if you want to get him up in Washington, Jen, but he's an outstanding presenter.
Great.
And it was just very powerful to hear him talk about how it's handled in these other countries where he's researched.
No, yeah, that's very important too, because we're going to have to use all those ideas, just like what we're trying to do here, and brainstorm what's going to work best for America. Because yeah, it is working out there, but we have to be realistic. We are America. We're a little different than everybody else. We have to do it that fits best for us. That's not meaning we have to do it where we profit off of people being sick. That's the way America does it today. We have to change that. The book is The Healing of America, A Global Quest for Better, Cheaper, and Fairer Healthcare by T.R. Reid. And then we have the other book, Deadly Spin. And do you have the author for Deadly Spin, Jen?
Wendell Potter.
Wendell Potter. So those are two books that I'm definitely going to be reading. And I recommend everybody out there read them, because we're going to be talking about those in the upcoming episodes. I might have Jen, and we're going to have Jen and we'll have Mary, both of you guys back on after I'm done reading those books. But
Cool.
yeah, we got about 10 more minutes here. So I'm going to go over both of you guys. Let's try to get some people involved. Let's try to reach out. I'm going to be sharing this into a lot of the local Oregon groups, the local Washington groups on Facebook, Twitter, such and such. If anybody's paying attention, now is the time. I'll say it again. Now is the time to contact one of these ladies, and please ask what you can do to help pass healthcare for all in your state and in our country. Mary, go ahead and let them know.
Oh, I love it. There's so many things you can do. As I often say when I'm recruiting volunteers, this isn't an original statement at all, but nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. Even if you have 5 minutes to spend in a week and you're talking to someone about healthcare for, what we're proposing here. If you can send emails out, if you can, like we talked about earlier, hosting something in your home, the grassroots, if you can become a member, if you can donate on a monthly basis. We have a lot of members who are on the, I can't think of what the plan's called, where you give $10 a month instead of, whatever. Yeah, we will work with you at whatever level you're able to give. And our chapters around the state are more than happy to engage with you. We're excited that our outreach is pretty solid in almost every area of the state. So whether you want to, we have a speakers bureau where you can go out and talk. We have a very effective program right now with some speakers who are going out and speaking at churches, because a lot of the churches get that healthcare truly is a principle of their teaching, of whatever their religious teaching is, the access, to healthcare. So the churches, a lot of the churches have been very supportive of having us come in and speak after one of their Sunday services, for example. So there's a whole myriad of ways that you can be involved. If whether you want to just sit at your desk and work for us, or be out and about publicly helping us.
Wonderful. And like I said, that's HCAO, Healthcare for All Oregon. We got the Facebook page, that'll be linked. This is Mary Closson. She is helping out, lead the effort in getting healthcare for every individual in Oregon. So we should give a special thanks to her and the whole organization in Oregon.
I just want to say, and I don't want to take up all the time, but real quickly, Adam Prine is one of our volunteers. Adam, you are on the communications committee. He does a lot of our social media posts. So Adam, you are the man. Thank you.
Thank you. We all got to do what we got to do.
That's right.
Just what I know. We got to keep pushing this everything we go. Hopefully these live streams are going to help getting people more involved. I do want to touch on one thing you said, that the churches understand. And earlier, Jen had said that we have to turn the tables. I just want to point out the irony that Jesus was the one that was turning tables.
Yes.
For profit. He was turning tables because people were making money, and he wasn't.
you think of the parables, you know, the Good Samaritan, all of that. It's
True
all
coincidence.
about healthcare and caring for, you know, those who are disadvantaged in any way. So,
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Mary. Jen, tell everybody in Washington. We're going to share this all over the place. Washington Bernie Kratz Coalition. I mean, thank everybody up there. You guys got a wonderful movement going on up there. So
Yeah.
what can anybody listening to this do to get involved in Washington to ensure that healthcare is a right for everybody in that state and then everybody in the nation?
Thank you so much for asking. So I guess first I would just direct people to our website. It's wholewashington.org. And under Get Active, there is a Become a Volunteer. And what we're doing right now is we're trying to get pledged signatures. So once we start that initiative campaign, and the very soonest it would be early 2020, we want to be able to take those pledged signatures to financial donors to let them know that we are ready. So, and they're also on that same form. There's other ways that you can be involved that doesn't require gathering signatures. We know it's not for everybody, but I must say that even I thought that I could never do such a thing. It is one of the most uplifting and connecting experiences that you can be involved with is collecting signatures for universal health care. It's a way to spread the message. You will hear heartbreaking stories. You will also find motivated people in places that you would never expect. So I urge you to just fill out that form. It gets you it gets you recognized as part of our army, which we need. So we need to have this ground base. And then if you're outside the state, just throw in some bucks. I know that there are a lot of people that are jockeying for your cash. I get it. But I feel like this is a very unique opportunity in Washington with the initiative process. Insurance companies are, lobbying our elected officials. They're using our money to prevent us from making any kind of movement. And the initiative process is it's a way to get directly on the ballot. Ground to prove that this actually does work, then this is a good way to donate to our organization to get that effort out there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jen. Whole Washington. I'm going to have all the links that she mentioned below. I'll link the books. This has been a good show. I'm very excited. We need more people. So this is essential. We need money and we need people. We need to get this rolling. We're rolling, but we need to continually grow on both sides. We're going to start getting someone from California to represent too into the show so we can have the whole West Coast talking here and brainstorming. I'm looking right now into the Healthcare for All California initiative and talking to some of the people down there. I've just reached out to them recently. Thank you both so much for coming on to the show. It's been
thank you.
Wonderful.
Great show. Thank you, Adam.
No problem. We're going to do this all the time. We'll have you both on again. Yes, Oz. It could not happen without Oz. Remember, it's Roar Media. They are putting together a very cool thing where they're connecting all the independent media in the Northwest Progressive, and we're making a hub station. And it's wonderful because not only are we able to promote each other, we can also feed off of each other, learn from each other. And so we're coming together. And thank you, Roar Media. Thank you, HCAO. Thank you, Whole Washington. Thank you, Mary Closson. Jen, what's your name, Jen?
Was it 9?
Jen Nye, wholewashington.org.
Jen Nye, Whole Washington. Sorry about that. Got brain fart. Medicare for All Monday, folks. Catch us out soon.
Thank you.
Next Monday, same time, same place. TCSN Live.